So we both own a Sony FX6 as our
Main
workhorse
camera.
camera for
Yeah.
freelancing. We were chatting the other night, weren't we, a bit about like what would we need in a new camera or an upgraded version of the FX6 to make us go, I want to upgrade to that.
Yeah, so FX6 Mark II, say, because they did an FS7 Mark II, FS5 Mark II.
I think it's also worth saying at this point that we're not craving for an FX6 Mark II to come out. We still feel like our cameras have got plenty of longevity and lifespan before it ever becomes out of date.
Yeah,
So
I think I'll have mine, and I'll be shooting on it for at least 2 years, 3 years before I look at upgrading.
yeah. So this bit is more a case of it's just a bit of geeky chat, isn't it? It's what would make it good and worthwhile to ever upgrade if that chance ever comes about.
When do you think an FX6 Mark II would come out?
It can't be yet. We don't really need an FX6 Mark II, do we?
Well, let's not give spoilers away, John, because this is what the discussion's about. I don't think you'll see one this year.
God, no,
because they've
no.
only just come into stock.
Yeah.
I know they came out 2 years ago, was it?
Yeah.
Which is mad. But they've only just got into stock. It feels like a new camera.
Yeah.
So I can't see it being this year. Maybe summer next year, you get an FX6 Mark II.
Potentially. I think the main thing with the FX6 is how far can you go before it becomes the FX9? If you're looking at an FX6 Mark II, if you increase any resolution, you're then bordering on the FX9. Personally, I don't think they can do too much.
I mean, from a business point of view, yeah, they can't. It would make sense to just take the FX9 guts and put it in the body of an FX6.
But then no one would buy the FX9.
That would be interesting. So you can get the 4K APS-C and things like that, and you get the 6K internal. That would make sense for them to do that from a camera point of view, not from a business point of view.
What would you say is currently missing then from the FX6?
I can't see myself upgrading for a few years at least, because there's nothing I'm really looking for that I need in it. A Super 35 4K crop would be nice, but I don't need it at all.
No.
You know, it would mean I could get some or use some Super 35 cine lenses and stuff, but it's not going to happen often, and it's probably the best camera out there for corporate and commercials.
It just is an all-rounder, I think.
Yeah.
Given the size of it, like you strip yours back quite a fair amount for handheld work, run and gun, or you can rig it up to broadcast level.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling you about a friend who I know who's also got an FX6 and he shoots a lot of broadcast stuff. So it's so equipped and versatile as a camera. For even films, we've been speaking about it, potentially using our FX6s on a next feature or another project.
Say it comes out this year, what would have you itching to upgrade to that?
For me, I've recently done some more product work and I used both the FX6 and the A7. You can shoot up to 4K 120 on both of those cameras. For the stuff that I was shooting the other day, I was shooting like some granules. It's like a paprika powdering thing. 120, it still isn't slow enough for that sort of object to shoot. I could have gone down to 1080 and gone to 240 frames a second, but the 240 on that it's just not the same. It looks a little bit mushy compared to even standard HD. I think it is a lower resolution. I believe it's something where it's only like 800 pixels or something.
Live upscale.
Yeah. I think so. Don't count me on it. I don't want to say that because I've had one encounter where I needed a higher frame rate that I just need that in my FX6 body, because obviously you can hire more cameras with higher frame rates. In the upgrade, if there was 200 frames in 4K, that to me would make me go, right, okay, because I do want to dabble more into product work. So if I've got the option to shoot in high frame rate, high resolution in one body rather than having to outsource and get more cameras, then that's a bit of a no-brainer for me. It would be nice. And frame rate is typically something that an upgrade of a body tends to get.
That would be a nice upgrade, I think. If you had to choose one or the other, if you got 4K at 240, say, or 6K, what would you go with?
4K all day.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you were doing stuff for social media, 4K is enough. If you needed to do the 1920 in height as opposed to width, it's still plenty.
Yeah.
I've only been in a situation 1 or 2 times where I've needed to shoot in 6K, or ideally wanted to shoot in 6K, and that was for some quite advanced tracking that we needed to do for a brand shoot. But apart from that, like I say, you get another camera if you really need to for those few occasions. To me, frame rate is something where you think, I've got more options creatively here to offer to clients. You know, you can do product work or capture moments. Slow motion always looks amazing. So if you can go even slower and shoot in 4K, you're future-proofed for a while anyway, but it will also always look amazing as well. It would be nice to, like you mentioned, to have an APS-C mode where it's still true 4K. You can't do that on the FX6.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can with the FX9, but then, like we said, we're starting to lean towards the FX9 a little bit more. If they introduced a 6K sensor so you could do that, it would be nice, but that one isn't essential for me, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. What about an internal RAW? So either a Sony RAW, similar to the Canon RAW Lite, maybe.
That'd be nice. That'd be really nice. I've not shot on any Canon cameras that has the Canon RAW Lite, so I don't really know what it's like.
Ollie's feature film recently, we shot on the C500 Mark II, and they've got RAW internal, and we didn't shoot on it. We shot on the 422 10-bit in C-Log 2 or 3, whichever one's the good one.
Yeah.
C-Log 2.
Yeah. And is it enough?
I think so, yeah. We worked out that you're already spending for a feature, I don't know, 1,500 quid on hard drives. And we worked out it was going to be at least 4.5 grand, 5 grand on hard drives if we shot in RAW.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it. Not when you're on our sort of budgets, when it's independent filmmaking. To have that, it didn't seem worthwhile.
That's a really good point. Just because the camera can shoot RAW doesn't necessarily mean you have to. If you have to accommodate everything else around that, such as the computer you're going to be editing on, the space that you've got available. Is there anything for you that would intrigue you to upgrade?
I mean, I've only just got my FX6, and it's more than good enough for everything I'm going to be doing for the next few years in terms of commercial work and things like that. And I think it's great. And I've got other stuff that I would rather invest in and upgrade in terms of lighting and grip and stuff like that, that's going to make more of a difference to me. So not necessarily. I think one thing that camera manufacturers should start pushing is 32-bit audio. I think that'd be great. I think if the FX6 came along and or the FX6 Mark II came along and it had 32-bit internal recording for audio, that would be awesome.
What do you think the chances of that happening is? Because what situations would you need 32-bit float recording?
I mean, stuff like this, you just plug the mic in, you don't have to check levels, you don't have to leave it on auto, you don't need a backup. You just plug it in, check that there's a signal coming through, and you're good. It'd be incredible. Probably not on the FX6 Mark II, but it will happen, I'm sure. I mean, we're not engineers or anything like that. It can't be that hard to do. You've got the little Zoom F1, which is a tiny little recorder. That's 32-bit internal. So
how much are they to buy?
140, 170 quid, something like that.
Yeah.
I've got one. I love it. It's brilliant. It can't be too heat intensive or anything like that. It's got to be doable. So just chucking that in some cameras, yeah, it'll happen for sure.
You have the Tamron, is it the 28-75 lens?
Yeah.
I've also got the 24-70.
Yeah.
Neither of those lenses are image stabilized. Would you like to see stabilization in a body such as the FX6 Mark II? Do you feel like it's needed for the user? It's
a tricky one, isn't it? Because I know that in a lot of situations, when you're rigging stuff up, a fixed sensor without stabilization is better because you can get issues coming. That's why, when like the GH5S came out and people were complaining about that not having stabilization, then Top Gear were jumping on and using the GH5S because the stabilization in the cars was creating issues. If you could fix that so that wasn't an issue, so you could either have sensor stabilization or it was totally locked into place, yeah, put it in there, amazing.
Yeah.
Because it'd be useful when you needed it, as long as there were no drawbacks.
Yeah.
But if it was just like the mirrorless where it's kind of on or it's not locked off, then nah, I wouldn't want it, I think.
Do you think it then almost like breaks the tradition of a cine line body? Because I can't think of any cine line cameras, because it's classed as a cinema camera, isn't it? Like a low-end cinema line camera. I can't think of any cameras that have stabilization on the sensor.
No, I don't think there are any.
Would they take that jump to introduce it into a cine camera?
Fuck it, yeah, why not? Because they've done that loads already. having usable autofocus on a cine camera. That's not really been done before. No one would use it, and then it gets to a point where in certain situations you can use it and it works great. And yeah, why not?
If mirrorless cameras can have it, then it'd be a shame that higher end users are missing out on the option to.
I think from a cinema point of view, I don't think it would matter, because if you wanted it stabilized, then you're going to put it on a Steadicam, or you're going to put it on a dolly, or you're shooting handheld and you want that handheld look. But in terms of the FX6, a lot of people use it for commercial events, documentaries, and for that, I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
As long as you could lock it off so that you're not getting any of those downsides.
Yeah.
So that if you wanted it without stabilization, you could still have it. Then I think it'd be amazing. I think people would jump on that. So for me, it'd have to be quite a few different things to have me tempted to upgrade. I'd be very surprised if I'm tempted in the next 2 years to upgrade. It'd have to be a combination of 32-bit audio, maybe a Super 35 mode, higher 4K frame rates. There'd have to be a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And even then, it wouldn't be a sure thing for me.
Personally, do you even feel like there is a need to have an FX6 Mark II in the future? Because we're struggling to find things wrong with it, whilst also considering the specs in an FX9. Have they already done as much as they can in that body to eliminate the need of a Mark II in a few years' time?
I think it's hard, isn't it? I think there probably will be one.
There just doesn't feel a need at the moment.
I don't think there is a need. I think across the FX6 and the FX9, you kind of catered for.